Hello, dear ones. Thank you for your interest in this video about the upcoming Venus retrograde. Venus is really important to us as women, particularly as women, because we hold the energy of creation in our physical bodies. So although she's relative to the creative cycles of men, for women, she's about the embodiment of that, the creative feminine principle. We'll naturally be more connected to the moon through our moods, our emotions, our day-to-day lives, our capacity as mothers, whatever that means to you, and the moon's day-to-day rhythms through our lives, particularly also our menstrual cycle. Venus is equally, or perhaps more important, in that she has a 9-month cycle in which she appears in our skies just before sunrise or just after sunset, because she's very close to the sun. And those 9-month cycles, interesting coincidence there, isn't there, if there is such a thing as coincidence. Those 9-month cycles, she appears as morning star and evening star. And between the two, she goes through a process of a disappearance, an underworld journey where she connects with the sun. She gets so close to the sun that we can't see her. She becomes invisible to us here on Earth. And at that point, she is being impregnated, one might say, with new life. And then that 9-month cycle brings that new month to fruition and fullness. So what does Venus represent in our lives? Well, as I've shared, she's the creative feminine. She represents traditionally love. So she's known as also as Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, Venus, the Roman goddess of love. But she actually represents so much more, because she is the fullness of our lives. So we could say she represents enjoyment, pleasure, abundance, our relationship to abundance, and in that is our relationship to money and to our resources. She rules the signs of Taurus and Libra. So Taurus being the earthly abundance, Libra being that wonderful creative energy that creates beauty, so art, music, and so on, actually what we express in our lives as human beings, and the best of the beauty of what we express and how that can touch and move us. So when Venus goes retrograde, we go into, we could call it a rebooting of our relationship to all those themes and qualities in our lives that I've just expressed, also in our relationships, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to others, our relationship to abundance. Venus is about to go retrograde in the sign of Leo. Now that happens, so her station retrograde happens on the 23rd of July. She disappears from our skies, and she is going through this process of being impregnated with new light, new life from the energy of the sun, from the energy of consciousness. And when Venus goes retrograde, it can feel as if we're, all the things that used to make us feel juicy, that used to give us pleasure, suddenly they become a bit dry. Suddenly we lose our interest perhaps in that area of life. And we're called to actually bring new life to it. Remember, Venus is invisible to us. So it's as though she's disappeared from our feeling of life, our experience of life. Then when she reappears, we find that juice again in new ways. Now, Venus is traveling through a fixed sign, the sign of Leo. And Leo is the sign of the heart. It's actually the sign of the sun as well. So it's the source of life. So think about our physical heart. It is the source of our life physically. Yeah. We could go into consciousness and down that wormhole, but we won't. Physically, our body's source of life is the heart and the heartbeat. So when Venus goes retrograde in Leo, all those things that are close to our heart are calling for reflection, response in new ways, a rebooting, as I've described it. The fixed signs are having a strong focus this year, particularly during this period of Venus retrograde. And the whole period runs from now, or from a few days ago, so around the solstice time, to the 1st of October. And because of that long period of reflection and rebooting, as I'm describing it, we're called to look into, what do I really enjoy? What gives me pleasure? What do I want to create? Because Leo is our creative potential in terms of our individuality. So if you look at the zodiac signs, Aries through to Leo, they're all about how we establish a sense of self and a sense of security, being in a body and in our own resources. When we get to Leo, whatever star sign, zodiac sign, sun sign you are, when we get to Leo, we start to establish a sense of self and a sense of confidence or lack of confidence in ourselves, depending on our kind of experience. And throughout our lives, we will go on building on that and healing that in different ways. So when Venus goes retrograde in Leo, it's truly a strong exploration of, who am I now? Who am I becoming? Who am I evolving into? What is my next creative passion? Where is my fire calling to be fed? My latest blog, you may have read, is called Tending Your Heart's Fire. And really this Venus in Leo is about that. It's like, what do you need to feed your heart fire in terms of your relationship to yourself and your relationships to other. Now, I will be sharing an online event on Saturday, the 1st of July at 10 a.m. UK time, British Summer Time, exploring this Venus in Leo retrograde. There'll be a lot of information in it about specific dates within the retrograde period, because Venus is also traveling with other feminine archetypes, including Black Moon Lilith, including Hecate, the crone energy, including Pallas Athena, the warrior goddess of wisdom. So we will be exploring these goddess archetypes along with some of the other ones that don't have planetary bodies, such as Durga and Sekhmet, from different cultures to our own. And we will be, although I will be providing you with a lot of information, it will be a very experiential journey together over that hour and a half to 2 hours. What you can expect to receive from that is inspiration and food, which is one of the themes of this Venus retrograde. How do we feed our heart's fire? And one of the ways we do that is by gathering in community and exploring and expressing. So food, insight, inspiration about next level heart expression for you. What does that mean? Along with the period of timing of the Venus retrograde, different awakening points, different insight points in terms of dates to be aware of. And I just want to share a little story now to finish up about my experience of this, because I've had something happen just in the last couple of days that is quite astounding, even to me as an astrologer of 30 years. It's like, you just can't make up these planetary rhythms, how they have relevance in our lives as awakening points. So I recently moved into a new apartment, and what we discovered after the apartment, it had been refurbished, but what we discovered afterwards, because of new regulations, building regulations, it needed more work doing. So this has been kind of hovering around in my life for the last 6 months. And on Friday, I suddenly knew that I needed to talk to my landlady about the timing of this, because for various reasons we haven't been able to kind of plan a timing. And part of me was like, why do you need to do it now, Cassandra? You know, there's plenty of time, you've got enough going on. But I knew, okay, I need to talk to her today about it. So I did. She got back to me with some potential dates. I looked at those dates and I made a choice that those dates were actually good dates for me because I've got so much on over that summer. So I let her know and we put the plan, we grounded the plan. Then I had little bit later, a few hours later, I had this inspiration. Oh, I wonder where Venus is today, because I was aware that Venus had just moved on to her retrograde shadow. So the retrograde shadow is the degrees that she will pass over 3 times during her journey through Leo. So 3 dates, 3 points of connection in that Venus retrograde journey. I was astounded because the day I made the choice and spoke to my landlady about what needed to happen, the dates, the day I move out of my apartment for the work to happen, and the day I move back in after the work has happened, Venus is at the exact same degree of Leo. Now, you can't make that up. I was absolutely astounded. So it's like 3 installments, if you like, in a set of circumstances. I sometimes describe that as a soap opera, that are part of a process. And for me, that process is about, because I mentioned Venus is in the fixed signs. When we have a process in the fixed signs, what it gets us to look at is what's already established, what's already here in our lives, what is something that already sustains us, that we maintain. And for me, being in my home is like my sanctuary. Yeah, it's my place I come back to when I've been extra busy or I've been out. I'm a traveler, I'm very creative. So it's my place where I come back to myself. That's what it represents for me. Of course, that's my heart in terms of my inner world, but my home represents that, as it probably does to many people. So Venus is retrograde in my 9th house, the house of travel, moving around, expanding, going beyond your boundaries. And what this Venus retrograde process for me in my 9th house represents is going beyond my comfort zones with that. I love living on my own. I'm a very social animal too, but to have that quiet space, being on my own as a sanctuary is really important to me. I'm actually going to stay with my sister during the time the work is happening in my flat. So it means I'm going to be living with her for a month, which is not an issue. But it destabilizes my sense of having my own space. I'll have my own room, of course, but I'm not going to shut myself in my room. So it's gently kind of rocking that foundation in me around being at home, being away, how I support myself and sustain myself in that, in what's important to my heart. And this is, for me, home and away, a lifelong theme because of experience I had in my childhood. So I can see already, I don't know the process. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen. Astrology is not predictive, but it reveals the processes for us and the awakening points for us. I can already see how that the circumstances are already in place, the timing is in place, the process, who knows? Yeah, who knows how that process will unfold in me? That remains to be seen. That's the mystery dancing. And my part in that is to be willing in terms of what needs to happen, both for my own well-being, Venus, but also for the process of growth and evolution that life is moving me towards. So also within the online event, which I'm calling A Deeper Love, because Venus is that, love of ourself, love of life, love of other. We will be looking at Venus through each of the houses of the zodiac, so you'll be able to also explore in your own chart the relevance of the journey for you, and may already be able to see, like I have, the circumstances that are kind of being set up for you within that process. I just want to briefly mention as well before I finish that as well as this Venus retrograde journey event that I'm hosting online, there is a retreat that I'm hosting in southern Spain at a beautiful retreat center called Casa Libélula, which means Dragonfly House. Starting the 25th of September, and this is towards the end of the Venus journey. Venus will actually be starting to move forward then from the 3rd of September, but she still will not have made her final connections with some of the planets that she's connecting with. So on that retreat, which is called the Radiance of Your Open Heart, we will be going very deeply into the Venus journey, along with the moon goddess Artemis. And I will be teaching and sharing the Venus Lotus practice, which is an embodiment practice that came through me around about 3 or 4 years ago, that I share and teach on my retreats. And this is a practice that you can take home with you to practice in your daily life. So if you're drawn to come to the retreat, please do get in touch and let me know. There is an option to pay by installments, and that starts on the 25th of September. Still plenty of inexpensive flights to Malaga, which is where we'll be based between Malaga and Granada, in that beautiful area of wild southern Spain, near a wolf sanctuary, which we will be visiting, and some very ancient 6,000-year-old dolmens, which we'll also be visiting. So that will be a profound exploration over a period of 6 days. So do get in touch. I will provide information about booking the online event with this video, and I look forward to seeing you and sharing with you. Thank you for watching.